differentiate between good actors and bad actors, and I think there is probably some legal and issues with trying to go after bad actors in that method, right? There's certainly a lot of issues with that we've discussed offhand. I think even if you get past that, you still don't get past the concerns that this governing body has, and that is changing the real impact of single-family homes, and I would even say multifamily homes within the borough. This would apply no differently to somebody in a condominium complex as well, where the same scenario would be happening. The door across them, the hall, continues to change on a day-by-day, potentially, or week-by-week basis. Look, government is often way behind the curve, and I think that is our fault here, right? Airbnbs and the landscape has changed. You obviously changed with that, as well as some others. And zoning laws and ordinances weren't obviously needed to be thought of or in place at that time to deal with these things. And as often is the case, they're not brought to the forefront of any governing body's attention until we start hearing complaints from residents and a way to look at that. And that's, I think, exactly what happened here. Albeit for a couple of bad actors, an ordinance like this may not have ever been proposed or brought forward. But again, I think even with the solutions that you have, I think you have a difficult time getting past changing the inherent nature of a single-family home to that of something of a more quasi-commercial district, which would be any of our zones where we allow hotels. And I know certainly folks much younger than some of us up here, maybe with the exception of the councilman, most of us are still in the mindset that we go on vacation, we go somewhere, we go to a hotel. I know the world's changing and people are looking at alternate ways to stay, and they stay at Airbnbs. My kids have done that as they've gone away as well. Me, I don't want to say I'm old-fashioned. I'm up to the idea. I think it has some instance and it has some applicability in certain areas that are more tourist attractions. And I think there's some understanding that comes with the residents who buy houses in those areas for commercial or investment means or motives. Unfortunately, most residents, all residents really, coming into a residential zone, a single-family home in South Plainfield, are not looking at turning that into a money-making venture. And to the councilman's point, this is a community with a bunch of young families whose interest is making sure that they get up, that they grow with that neighborhood and that they get to know their neighbors. And I just don't see how an Airbnb or short-term rental, and again, this isn't an Airbnb rent, this is a short-term rental, an ordinance. I just don't see how that really operates, in that structure of the community here. Now, look, we're not advocating for hotels and stuff like that versus individuals versus residents. But clearly, South Plainfield's been around, next year will be 100 years. We do have a number of, hotels within the borough, around the surrounding areas, that meet that short-term rental need. So it isn't that we don't have a way to meet that need other than having residents or investors buy homes and rent them on a short-term basis. So look, it's unfortunate, but without this governing body looking and to change that ordinance to something that would meet a licensing thing, I just don't see that this ordinance is going to change and that this kind of activity is going to be permissible in the borough. Not probably what you wanted to hear, and I can certainly understand having number of properties that have been operating without incident, that's it's not the greatest news that you would expect to hear. And I don't think any of us take it here lightly. We certainly are often put in the place of balancing one resident's viewpoint and desires versus another. And, it never works out for everybody. And it's always something that I know we put a lot of thought into and a lot of debate, but this one is probably about as tough as any that have come before us, but especially when we have operators like you, like I said, who've been operating, in a decent and fair manner for a number of years. It would be so much easier if we had a litany of zoning complaints or police complaints against you as an operator to say that, hey, we don't want you in this community. That's not the case here. And so that makes it extremely difficult for us to maintain that position. But, I hope I don't like that you're going to understand our position or agree with it. I think that's the position of most of the members here. I don't know if there's anyone else who wants to weigh in.
Well, Mayor, I just want to say that when this first came about, and we were getting some pushback from the residents, that was the first time I ever heard of short-term rental being in South Plainfield, and it really struck a nerve because there was a lot of bad actors, and and having that person with the family, I can relate to that. And so when I looked at the ordinance, I talked to the attorney, and I looked at other towns, Bridgewater and others that have enacted some of these things, and ours are actually looser than most of them. And I was saying to the attorney, I said, well, how can we get more teeth into this and make it stronger so that we can actually have consequences that have a bigger ripple effect than what these are. So that was kind of the way I was leaning at that point, and now, looking to loosen it, that's just not what I would do.
All right. Nothing else?
If I could
Yeah.
comment too, I understand Councilman Benjavanga's point. I respect you guys. Like, I have nothing but respect for all of you, even though, you're saying what you're saying and it goes against obviously what I want.
Yeah.
I don't have any bad blood towards anybody. I would never disrespect our community. I would never put my neighbors in any harm, obviously purposefully. That's why, like, I meet every guest at the door. I look them in the face. I shake their hand. I know what they're here for. I treat 80% of them for coffee at Dunkin' Donuts or Clo Coffee or tea or whatever they're into. I put my life into this. You know what I mean? Like, I've been doing this full time for half a decade. So I can understand too if I was just doing it for like a year or 2 years or whatever. But I literally have use case, proof case, like literally hundreds of examples over 400 reviews on the platform. I have a 4.98. I don't know if you ever used Airbnb before, but that's really difficult to maintain. Again, I completely respect your position with kids. I want to have kids in this town. So if there was, to me though, it's the same as if there was an irresponsible bar on the corner with an unruly owner that was causing harm where there's homes around it that somebody could be drunk and drive into a house. I feel like it's the same thing, and that's why permitting and licensing does exist. So I don't think that it would really affect anybody else. Like, it's surely not going to affect any of you if I'm operating a responsible business and doing the right thing. But it's just that's why permitting and licensing exists, because you're giving trust. You're putting certain trust into certain individuals to do certain things. So, as I said, I completely understand all the points that are made. Councilwoman Mott, I understand your point as well to speak to that, but I can't confirm. I don't accept any reservations that have no license, like no ID, and I believe Airbnb does check for any sort of incidents with individuals, whether it be, just that could hurt a community. I also don't host anybody without any previous reviews. A lot of times I end up hosting traveling nurses and traveling construction workers. During COVID, I hosted traveling insurance adjusters a lot. Just again, people that don't really feel comfortable staying at hotels, and it's like a different price point in some cases. So I feel like in this situation, as Mayor Anish pointed out, this is very new. Like when Uber came out, I don't know if any of you guys use Uber ever. I had to use an Uber to get here because I had to leave my girlfriend at JFK Hospital with the car. Essentially, there was a lot of pushback. There was a lot of people fighting that. I feel very deeply, and obviously my opinion is biased, that this is one of those situations. I feel that Airbnb is also growing as an app and as basically scanning people and making sure that people are on point. And if there was legislation that back that up, maybe I think it would go well. I think it could go well. But again, I do understand Councilman Benjavenga and Councilwoman Mott's, reservations with it, and I completely respect you guys, and I still support you guys regardless of any of this. So,
Thank you.
But I think that, to my original point, a short-term rental, to me, is like a hotel. And if you're in a residential zone, you should be operating a hotel-like business out of a residential zone. That's a single-family zone, even if it was two-family, or like the mayor said, multifamily. It's no different than mother daughters are not permitted in South Plainfield. You have to go for variance for mother daughter. It's just one of those things that it's a hotel under the definition of the municipal land use law. It's a short-term rental. And so there's two aspects to this, right? There's the issues that come along with having them as your neighbor, not knowing who they are. And you could be the most excellent business owner possible, and then you sell your property and the next person cannot be you, right? So we can't just make a law around yourself. But the fact remains is that it's a single-family zone, and that's the part that I have a hard time coming over.
Yep, I agree. And I think with the lift and the cars, I think it's a different little bit of an analogy. I think a lot of the opposition there was New York medallion taxi owners, right? They were going to lose their livelihood because the medallion that they paid for was now pretty much worthless. You had to overcome the fact of an individual getting into an Uber or a stranger who they don't know and not a marked taxi, but I think that was a small part. The biggest opposition in my recollection was to medallion owners who had an investment, and obviously that kind of changed the landscape for taxis. In most cities, New York is still hanging in there.
I wanted to point actually just one more thing out. So I understand what you're saying about getting a permit and things like that. And listen, not everybody's like you is the problem, right? So I was also a landlord. You're supposed to, every tenant change, get a certificate of occupancy from the borough, right? You think everybody does that? I mean, of course I did that. But not everybody's like me, not everybody follows the rules, and they just don't do it. So it's kind of like the same thing. So you could be amazing, your tenants can be amazing, but what do we do with those who are not? Like, we can't have it okay for you and not okay for others, you know what I mean? And the people who are doing things that they shouldn't be doing certainly aren't going to apply for a permit, right? So it's kind of, besides all of the other issues that we have mentioned, I mean, that's just, it's just not one size fits all.
But
Unfortunately,
Councilwoman,
it's going to
even-
negatively impact.
Even in a 100% compliant world, you still don't get beyond the councilman's initial point that you're
Right.
putting that activity in a
Right, that's
Right.
what I'm saying. It's
So,
completely separate
yeah,
of what
the
was
licensing
mentioned of
part,
this.
you could wrap around that. Everybody's a great operator, every guest, you're still, you can't get past that part of it,
Right.
right? So, hey, we had one individual online, did you want? We had one individual online, I'm not sure, is that Mr. Patel? You can take yourself off mute, just state your name and address for the clerk, and then proceed with your question.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Akshay Patel. I'm a resident of South Plainfield. I live on Arlington Avenue, south of Belmont. So I'll start by saying apologizing. I'm a simple person. I don't know your ceremonies or if I'm doing anything wrong, so please bear with me.
Not yet.
I'm bringing this matter which actually originated with the Board of Education and the district superintendent. And if you bear with me, I'll explain to you why I'm also now bringing this issue over here. So in the last school year, 2024 to 2025, the Board of Education and the superintendent decided to take the state laws of no longer providing transportation to students within 2-mile radius and the high school students beyond 2.5-mile radius. Another thing that also happened last year was, or to 2023, the Board of Education of New Jersey issued a new guidance and the law around hazardous routing. So I represent myself plus many different families, and it was kind of nice to hear the last discussion where this with the council team, and you all have a long history here. The complaints and the sort of concerns we brought up is really the riskiness and the hazardness of these changes that the Board of Education and the superintendent have made without really considering the hazardous routing guidelines, which includes commercial traffic zones, lack of clear walking pathways, shortest distance from homes to schools, crossing over bridges, and I heard something about sex offenders. We also identified registered sex offenders on the route. And our children impacted are 12-year-olds, and they've also taken away busing for early children, 5, 6-year-olds coming into school. We've been going back and forth, and with all of that, we also had reached out to the police department, and the very nice gentleman over there worked with us to put a guard crossing, but still the fundamental issue of the hazardous routing still pertains, and this is an issue that we have been requesting both formally as well as attending more than 4 or 5 the Board of Education district meetings. And we're at a point where we escalated to the Middlesex superintendent, as well as getting ready to escalate to the New Jersey State in Trenton. And through the guidance of the superintendent and Board of Education, we also escalated this to Senator Dagener, who's a local resident.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, the issue over here is the hazardous routing, according to what we've read and understood clearly with guidance from even neighboring districts, is it's a collaboration between the township as well as the Board of Education. We've just really tried super hard. It's been really frustrating. We put up a petition with signatures reaching over 400 signatures now, and we're just at a point where both the Board of Education and the superintendent have stopped responding to our requests. To make matters worse, we also identified that the district has been providing transportation to other families who live within these guidelines and to students who do not qualify for IEP or special circumstances, and we highlighted this as well, and they've ignored this. And the law clearly states that if the school district is providing courtesy busing, which they are for grant school and other students, they should be adopting this law, which you've highlighted to them. And they continue to provide unreasonable requests for us to, for example, go and talk to the senator, for example, and talk to bus companies who are pushing us back to the district. And what we're really looking for is your support, that spirit of family, to really help us with the safety of our children. There's been a situation where my youngest daughter pleaded to me in tears that please save my older sister, please don't let her die. And we've seen numerous situations of students walking down the street south of Belmont and along the road near the local offices right by Belmont where there's no pavement, with large trucks just crossing them. And we really don't know what to do. We're just seeking some support from you.
Okay,
We've
so
seen other mayors in other districts also sort of voice this for us. We sent some emails and details. We're happy to provide more details.
yeah, I think I've seen.
I hope it's not too frustrating.
No, well, I think you're the right to sound frustrated. So I think I've seen your petition. Let me reach out to the superintendent. You're saying you went to several school board meetings and I guess no action. Obviously, look, this is outside of this governing body's legal authority. We can certainly weigh in, but obviously you're going to need that Board of Education to make any kind of changes. Chief, this hazardous routing that came through the department, or, right?
Yeah, after speaking with Paul, that the determination of hazardous routes is on the, rests with the Board of Education.
Really? Okay.
We work with them, as Mr. Patel said, getting the crossing guard at Belmont,
Yep.
to help out, but ultimately, I guess the selection of hazardous routes rests with them.
Okay. I don't know if you heard that, Mr. Patel.
Where is the definition of a hazardous route? Is it their definition, or is there another definition? The state?
It's the guidelines from the state.
Oh, guidelines from the
Okay,
state.
thank you.
Okay.
The guidelines from the state, yeah.
So you mentioned Senator Duignan. Have you been able to get a meeting with Senator Duignan?
Have not been able to get a meeting with Senator Duignan. His office did reach out and say that he's been obviously busy with Trenton for obvious reasons. We are trying to get this.
Okay.
We did get support from their office saying, yes, they acknowledge the issue,
Okay.
and they're hoping that the local leadership would sort of help to guide first before we start.
All right. So let me try and reach out. Let me try and reach out to the Senate. Are you the de facto leader of the group, or no? You don't have to be.
So I've been the loudest because I've
Okay.
started. I was just about to joke that the board and the superintendent called me the gangster leader. So
Oh. Well, I don't know if I want to deal with the gangster. Well, look, do me a favor. I'm not going to ask for your phone number over a public meeting. You just please email me tonight. My email address is Anesh, ANESH, at southplainfieldnj.com. I'm on the borough website. Just shoot me your contact information. I'll reach out to the superintendent, president of the board, and Senator Duignan, and see if we can figure out what their rationale for is. We obviously cannot, can't guarantee you any change, but I can at least find out if they'll respond to me and see what their rationale is, for that. I'm sure part of it is funding. I'm not quite sure what the rest of it is, right? If there's dangerous conditions out there and they can make it work, I'm not quite sure. But I'm not up to speed on this issue, and so I don't want to get too far over my skis, which I tend to do. But if you shoot me your contact information, and I'll reach out to the senator, reach out to the superintendent, and just see if we can find out at least what they respond to me, what their explanation is, and then I can share that with you, and then maybe we can look at next steps.
yeah, thank you. I do appreciate that. Just and also to be clear, we're willing to pay for subscription busing, which is the guidelines in the New Jersey law.
Yeah.
We've also agreed to do that, but they're not willing to do that. And I just want to also share with you, you travel back and forth between New York. Because of this
I do.
issue, my daughter had to spend 1 hour in 19-degree weather waiting for me because of train cancellation. So it's just not right. I just don't see the logic over here.
Are you on the train with me? Are you on the train with me, you're saying?
Gangsters are
I was just about to say.
You're not allowed? If you're on the train with me, say hello. Just don't scare me.
I will send you more
Yep.
details
Yep.
to kind of bring you up to speed. I'm happy to fill in all the things we've done. We've done a lot.
Yep. And let's work on another name for you. I don't want to be. I don't know if I can be associated with the gangster leader. might not do well for me.
Considering you married me many, many years ago, I hope.
Ah, well, congratulations. I only bring people together. I don't take them apart. Right? So not one of my weddings has ended up in disaster. So I'm glad that I know of. No, congratulations. And like I said, shoot me that email, and we'll get together soon, and maybe over a New Jersey Transit train. I can't think of a worse location than that, but not a problem. Thank you, sir. Ms. Cullen, I think you have your hand up as well, or is your hand just up for no reason?
Okay, thank you. You married me too, Mayor.
I know.
Darlene Cullen tap into. I just have two quick questions about ordinance 2336. So will anyone currently selling electronic smoking devices be grandfathered in, or will all have to comply? And then number two, will this ordinance shop, as far as how many South Plainfield is allowed to have and their location?
Mr. Rizzo.
The answer to number one is no, that nobody's getting grandfathered in.
So it's a no on number one, no grandfather.
I didn't catch everything in the second question.
Would it apply to smoke shops
Limiting the amount of smoke shops in town.
or limiting the amount of smoke shops?
It does, just because they're retail business, so you can't, so under the code, it's a retail business, but they sell a regulated product, so you're licensing the product.
So it's no to both.
No to both.
No to both?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the council chambers for council comments? Yes, sir. Again, just state your name for the clerk and proceed with your questions. And we've done a terrible job of keeping to 3 minutes tonight, but do your best.
I'm Salvatore Caniglio, I'm Lewis's dad. This obviously affects me too. Well, my question is, our lawyer, you're Mr. Rizzo, right?
Yes, I spoke to Mr.
Okay,
Dennis.
Mr. Rizzo, you spoke to him?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Again, I have to get back to him, but we had a
Oh,
conversation.
no, I know you spoke to him, but this was concerning NJSA 40:55D-68, which is the non-conforming, pre-existing.
Which is just the legal terminology for grandfather.
Okay. Well, it's just that I don't know if any of the council members were aware of the mayor or aware that this was going on at this
Well,
point.
I talked to Mr. Linus, I remember correctly, Thursday or
Mhm.
Friday. He sent me what he wanted me to look into,
Right.
and candidly, I've started to look into it, but I've started a trial in Tom's River. I haven't finished looking into it.
Okay.
That's why
Well,
I
we
haven't
feel
completed my
very
assessment.
strongly about this, and feel that this supersedes anything else. So that's the position that we're taking on this. I'm not sure how it's gonna pan out, but that's it.
But I
So,
will continue the conversation with Mr. Linus.
okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Going once, twice. Okay, close the public portion. At this point, I'll ask for a motion to approve the council minutes of December 16th agenda public executive, the January 6th reorganization and executive session meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilman Smith. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
And Council President White?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you. We have one proclamation on tonight, Dr. Martin Luther King. Bear with me, I forgot my reading glasses. And whereas each year America set aside a day to remember a giant of our nation's history and a pioneer of the civil rights movement, during his lifelong struggle for injustice and equality, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his mighty voice to the quiet hopes of millions and reminded us that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And whereas he challenged America to make good on its founding promise, and he called upon every lover of freedom to walk alongside their brothers and sisters, and whereas we honor all who marched, bled, and died for civil rights, and we celebrate the great victories of the last half century of civil rights and voting laws, new opportunities in the classroom and the workforce, a more fair and free America, not only for African Americans, but for us all. And whereas we are also reminded that our journey is not complete, it is our task to build upon the gains of the past generations, from challenging new barriers to the vote to ensuring the scales of justice work equally for all people. And we must advance another cause central to both Dr. King's career and the civil rights movement, the dignity of good jobs, decent wages, quality education, and a fair deal. And whereas Dr. Martin Luther King taught us that an individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. In honor of this spirit, Americans across the country will come together for a day of service. By volunteering our time and energy, we can build stronger, healthier, more resilient communities. Today, let us put aside our narrow ambitions, lift up one another, and march a little closer to the nation Dr. King envisioned. Now, therefore, I, Matthew Banish, Mayor of the Borough of South Plainfield, do hereby urge all citizens to remember Dr. King with appropriate civic, community, and service projects in the Borough of South Plainfield. All right, for final adoption, ordinance 2335.
An ordinance amending ordinance 2304 that provides for the compensation of employees of the Borough of South Plainfield and the method of payment of such compensation for the years 2024 through 2028 for non-union professionals and governing body.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for final adoption on ordinance 2335?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Benjavenga, seconded by Councilwoman Faustini. Council comments regarding the final adoption of ordinance 2335? What, the ordinance title?
Well, the ordinance is amending the salary ordinance
Yeah.
for the code of the Borough of South Plainfield.
Yeah.
And what? What specifically? We had some positions that we had to add into there that were civil service positions that we added to the code. And so
basically what that's saying.
yes,
Yes.
it's amending the salary ordinance to add the positions so that we can.
Within the borough.
Correct, non-contractual positions.
Okay, like a borough employee.
Depends, not, non-contractual, non-union employees.
Okay.
I shouldn't say non-contractual, it's for,
Non-union professionals.
yeah, non-union professionals. Not like your AFSMI or your Teamsters, they have separate ordinances.
Right.
This is for, construction official, fire official, your department heads and your non-contractuals.
Okay. All right, that's better, thank you.
We had a couple positions
Sure.
we had to add to it.
Since we have the public portion open, if there's any other comments regarding the ordinance 2335? Nah, yeah, that's fine. We open it up for public comments. Anyone else? Close the public portion. Council comments on ordinance 2335?
None.
Nothing, Mayor.
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
And Council President White?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you. For introduction, ordinance 2336.
An ordinance to create a new chapter entitled Sale of Electronic Smoking Devices and Electronic Smoking Device Products for the Borough of South Plainfield.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for introduction on ordinance 2336?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilman Benjavanga. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott?
I would like to think this over a little bit further, so I'm a no for now.
Councilman Smith?
I as well would like to abstain so I can read this ordinance.
Okay, I have Councilman Smith as an abstain.
Are you a no
Councilwoman Mott, I have as a no,
or an abstain?
correct?
Keep it as a no.
Okay. And moving on, Council President White.
Yes.
That is 3-1. Yes, passes 3-1.
Passes 3-1. 301. Thank you. For introduction, ordinance 2337.
An ordinance of the Borough of South Plainfield, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 17 of the Code of the Borough regarding boards, committees, and commissions.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for introduction on ordinance 2337?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Faustini, seconded by Council President White. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
And Council President White.
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you. For introduction, ordinance 2338.
Bond ordinance providing for improvements to South Plainfield Avenue, Vale Court, Mineford Avenue, and other various roads in and by the Borough of South Plainfield in the County of Middlesex, New Jersey, appropriating $1,089,747 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $650,000 bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for introduction on ordinance 2338?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilwoman
Mott.
Mott. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
And Council President White?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you. Also for introduction, ordinance 2339.
Bond ordinance providing for reconstruction improvements to the Hadley Road sewer lines in and by the Borough of South Plainfield in the County of Middlesex, New Jersey, appropriating $500,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $500,000 bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for introduction on ordinance 2339?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Benjavanga, seconded by Council President White. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Council President White?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you. So the public hearing final adoption for ordinances 2336 through 2339 will be held on February 3rd, approximately 7 p.m. Can I get a motion for resolutions 25-61 through 25-74, 25-76 through 25-77?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Benjavanga, seconded by Councilman Smith. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Council President White?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for resolution 25-75?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilman Benjavanga. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Recuse.
Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Council President White?
Yes.
Passes 4-0.
Thank you. We have 3 items. Correspondence, Board of Health monthly report for December, Health Advisory Board minutes for December 10th, and JDCA $500,000 grant for capital improvements on roof and windows. Can I get a motion for payment of bills of $7,066,961 and what appears to be 58 cents?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, motion by, I'm sorry. Motion by Councilman Smith, seconded Council President White. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
And Council President White?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Amy, do we need a vote on executive session, right?
You will? Yes.
We will. Why don't we do that before council reports, because I'll forget. Can I get a motion for executive session resolution 25-78?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilman Smith. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
And Council President White?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
All right. Now, council reports and other items. Ms. Antonides, anything for us tonight?
Progress, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Miller.
No, Mr. Mayor, progress.
Mr. Miller, how was the snowstorm?
Wonderful. We got done with it, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I know. Wow. Good work. Chief.
Mr. Mayor, we're working with the Senior Center to do another fraud prevention and awareness seminar, hopefully the end of February. We'll keep everyone updated when we get a hard date.
Thank you. I think the state of New Jersey just came out with a new one, right? There's something going around.
Yeah, there's a new one going around with, was it a package miss or something?
There's a package, there's like an
Package is
Easy
the wrong
Pass,
place.
there's an Easy Pass
Easy
one
Pass
too.
one
I think,
Pass
yeah.
too. There's a
And
few new ones.
USPS.
USPS.
The Easy Pass one, I've gotten that a couple of times, and it has an international number,
Yeah.
believe it or not. And it says your parking lane fees are due, or you have a toll or something, but it's an international number, has a country code.
I have to give Tree the credit over there. She raised the concerns due to, some problems they've been having, so
Awesome. Yep. Very much needed, unfortunately. Anything else, Chief?
that's all. Progress, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I guess they're not just senior scams.
No.
Everybody falls from, unfortunately, nowadays. Mr. Rizzo, anything for us tonight?
Progress, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Mott.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Len, I'm very happy to be back with you as the liaison to DPW. You got some pretty rave reviews for the snowstorm, so thank you for that. It was a really nice job.
It's only 3 inches.
Also, Christina Narodka, as we know, Pete and I kind of overlap. It overlaps with the environmental committee, but Christina Narodka with DPW, she handles clean communities, which includes Adopt a Spot, and there are plenty of spots available to adopt. Basically, you choose an area, you have a sign that goes up with your family name or your business name, and you clean up multiple times a year any litter that appears on the property. So we do have openings for that, and I encourage anyone interested to contact Christina at DPW. And that's it.
Thank you. Councilwoman Faustini.
Thank you, Mayor. On this coldest of cold winter evenings, I will just let everybody know that first week of February, registration for the community pool should be available, hoping for a nice warm summer. And registration for the camp should open the end of the month of February. And we have a STEM program starting up, so if you're looking for anyone in grades 1 through 5, that will open next week. And with that, progress.
Thank you. Councilman Smith.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, how are you today?
Peachy.
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone that attended the Lunar New Year. It was very nice. I was with Councilwoman Faustini and the mayor. They had a very nice time. The line dancing and drums, and someone came a little late, but we won't mention any names, but his initials are Derek White. But we did have a great time there and welcoming into their New Year's. I want to thank Chief Papa. We've been working and to see the signs for the e-bikes. We just have to get a better, I think, we'll have to come up with some type of ordinance down the road, because I don't think it's the kids that are going to the schools that are violating these laws as much as we have residents or non-residents that just ride on the wrong side of the road, popping wheelies in the center lane with e-bikes, and it's got to be stopped. With that, I want to thank Council President White for putting me back on the planning board. I attended their meeting. It was very well ran by Chairman Ackerman. I couldn't think of the title that he has. And some questions on that. But I did go to the environmental meeting and explain to them that the Environmental Advisory Committee is to the beautification of our borough. And that's their job. And with what Councilwoman Mott stated about the spring cleanup and the fall cleanup, that she will be running that. And Ms. Boyle has worked with the Green Team on trying to procure a grant from PSE&G to do things. We have a Green Team meeting on the 23rd of this month. The teacher, Kathleen Bennett, has a group at the high school that we're going to try to, again now, to come to the council meeting and make presentations, hopefully at least once, but I'm trying to shoot for at least twice a year that they do that. I look forward to working with them and beautifying our town. And Resident John McConville is running the tree program. Is something else that we need to start to focus on. And they do have a company that has water bag trees, and we're working on something that we'll have to work with the DPW for the first year or so. They have water bags, and we'll take money from the grants that we have achieved and the fees that people pay, so that we can put that to the DPW so they can fill the water, so the trees will be maintained for a couple of years until they'll be able to grow on their own. So we will be beautifying the town and going forward with what we have. And with that, Mayor, progress.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Benjaminga.
Thank you, Mayor. Obviously, you saw on tonight's agenda two things: the ordinance for South Plainfield Avenue, which is partially paid for with an over $400,000 New Jersey DOT grant that we received this year as part of our annual application for that grant. I know Oak Tree Road is also going to be done with another part of a DOT grant for $1 million. And also we received the official notice of the DCA $500,000 grant for improvements to the municipal building, which includes the roof and the windows. And our other grant that we've received for the senior center roof and and also for the gas pumps for $1 million. But, you know, it's a lot, you know, over the past 2 or 3 years, we've received $5+ million in grants, which obviously is a direct savings to the taxpayers of South Plainfield that we're able to do this. So thank you to everybody's hard work in getting that done between the engineer and our administrator, Chief Papa, and obviously Senator Doug in making that happen.
I ran into a former mayor on Saturday night, right? Who was congratulating us on that grant, so. Good to hear. All right, Council President White.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, business-wise, Revolving Sushi is working through their process. They should hopefully be open within the next month or so. And then, just in the spirit of Dr. King, I'd like to just leave everyone with a quote. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? So, look for those opportunities to let people know that they're seen and they're heard and help them out. Thank you, Mayor.
And
Progress.
thank you for getting Popeyes across the finish line.
Carried them on my back.
You know, we had to give you the credit at this point. All right, we're going into executive session. We have 2 items to discuss. Not exactly sure how long that will take. We'll be back as soon as possible.